tools and choices.
With cleaner homes, cleaner energy, cleaner coastlines. With better products from better materials.
Using less, but giving more.
When the world gets better, let's just get better and better. Miele, immer besser.
Welcome to our live stream. We are so excited. Joe's there on Instagram. We are back till the end of April. So thank you to the City of Melbourne and Federation Square for working so hard, and also Heritage Victoria for considering our special request to be able to stay longer. So we get to have another 3-4 seasons here. So we are so excited. But it also gives us an opportunity to get a lot more people through on tours, get schools through, and do these live streams, because there's so much content in this building that we didn't really get to do because of the lockdowns and stuff last year. I'm here tonight with Tremaine. We met at the bar at the Monbulk Football Club in Monbulk, and the rest is history.
What a ride.
Yeah. So Tremaine is from Digilin, an awesome company in Brisbane that makes lighting, really bloody good lighting. And so, I don't know, would it be 5, 6? When did you move to Monbulk?
2009.
So you got another 20 years to go before you become a local then?
I'm aware of that, yeah. But yeah, what's that, 11, 12 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, not long after you moved there, we started to see each other around the traps. And yeah, as you know, I'm interested in, especially in innovation and ways of reducing energy use. And it was in 2009 that I imported some LED lights. They were the world's first LED grow lights. And the reason why I wanted to use LED grow lights was because they use a lot less energy. Grow lights are really hungry for power. And some estimate that it's somewhere between 3 and 5% of the world's energy is used to grow plants in glasshouses and that sort of thing globally. So when I met Tremaine, I got these lights from Holland. They came, but the light was so horrific that we ended up not using them. They went to the greenhouse in Perth. We used them on the rooftop garden. Some of you in Perth might remember. And the plants loved them, but yeah, we got told by the City of Perth that we had to turn them off. A couple of years later, I met Tremaine, told him about this, and he's gone, well, I reckon we could pull that off. And that started our collaboration, I suppose. So do you want to just tell us about Digilin?
Yeah, sure. Digilin, founded in 1980 by kind of a crazy genius kind of guy. Bit of a mentor for me, a guy by the name of John Davis, electronics engineer, and just an innovator and creator of different sort of electronic devices. Originally it was a lot to do with audio systems and things like that, but in the mid-80s started getting involved in sort of lighting for signalling systems for Queensland Rail and large government infrastructure projects. And eventually it started leading down the road of fibre optic lighting, which was mostly decorative. Some major projects there with Expo 88 and Olympics in Sydney and things like that, but it kind of set the path for Digilin to be a lighting and controls company. I bumped into Digilin in 97, and it was just by chance that somebody mentioned I was in lighting, and they said you should really go and check out this company. And at that point I honestly thought I knew everything, and then I walked into this place and realised I knew nothing. Yeah, wow. And it certainly changed my life. And so I became a distributor for Digilin and eventually purchased Digilin, the company, in 2013. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So now we have we break our company into 3 areas. We do lighting, sure, we do controls, but we do custom. So that when it doesn't,
that's your speciality, isn't it?
Yeah,
custom design.
Yeah. If it doesn't exist, we kind of make it exist. It's that's the fun stuff. That's where we get to be creative and solve problems.
And so some of you here in Melbourne would remember the Art Centre when it first was lit up. That was Digilin.
That was all Digilin product, yeah. That's back in 94.
Yeah. And just as recent as a few months ago here at Deakin Edge at Fed Square, some of your lighting went in there. So
Yeah. Definitely doing some work over there. Another local one that we're quite proud of is Region Theatre. That's just been commissioned as well. So really, really nice job. And once again, all custom. What they needed to to fill that space just didn't exist. So we had to get the engineers to work until it did.
So you said you installed the first LED lights back in?
No, we designed and manufactured Australia's first commercial LED light fixture.
Wow.
That was in 1997. That was a Sydney project. It was just a little in-ground. Back then, it had to be blue because it needed to produce a bit of light, and there was no whites. So it was just like a series of little blue in-grounds. Interesting story is, I think it was about 18 months ago, that project got renovated and they ripped up all the floors, and they're all still there and all still working.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I believe over that time, they changed a couple of drivers, but the fixtures themselves were still operating. And it's a testament to good design and durability. Yeah.
And I actually used some of your optical fibre for an art installation at the Stoke House in Brisbane a few years ago.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely love how, that is actually a technology that could potentially be used as well. We actually explored the idea of getting sunlight into buildings through optical fibre, circadian rhythm and all that sort of stuff,
sure.
and grow lights. I mean, one of the questions, if you do have a question, by the way, you can go into Instagram Live on my Instagram and ask any questions. But let's explain to people that don't know what circadian rhythm is.
It's in simple terms, it's about the way humans have adapted and evolved over years to respond or react differently to different light and colour temperatures of light throughout the day. And we have different modes, effectively, based on the time of day. We've since created so many different forms of artificial light. So, we lock ourselves away in rooms and are only lit by artificial light. So we're removed from those circadian rhythms. There's now quite a solid movement to reintroduce those rhythms into our spaces away from the natural light sources of the sun. So we do quite a few projects that mimic the colour temperatures that occur during the day naturally.
And that's one of the things that you're, really was almost unique to you at the start, but you've developed technology that allows you to dim and change and alter light spectrums, and especially in, spaces like theatres and that sort of.
Yeah, I guess we stand apart from there's obviously lighting available all around the world, but our engineers have been working very much on the control aspect of managing LEDs and how to control them properly. So we're kind of leading the world in terms of dimming and control.
Yep.
So that certainly helps when you're trying to create environments that respect circadian rhythms, or whether it's grow lights or whether it's critical dimming in theatres. That embedded technology in the drivers is what makes those systems work the most. Yeah. And that's we're extremely proud that that's all come out of the minds of some Aussies in Brisbane who just whiz kids that showing the world how to do it.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Really proud. Yeah.
You were telling me that you went to Germany at the trade fair and met some people that were like seeking you out, going, here's this little company from Australia that. Yeah,
it was quite amazing to be in the world's biggest lighting fair, and I was actually looking for someone else, and I was asking someone who I didn't know, do you know where I could find this person? They're like, yeah, and they went, are you from Digilin? And I went, yeah, have you heard of us? Yeah, the guys that do all that great dimming stuff in Australia. Yes, we are. Yeah.
That's cool.
Proud moment.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, and so one thing that excites me is that when we don't really talk about it is how we're massively reducing our energy use. Like radically, in technologies like lighting, it's 75 to 80%.
Sure.
In comparison to traditional lights 20 years ago.
Yep.
Heating, I think heating is responsible for 45% of the world's energy.
Okay.
Whether it's heating water or heating air or heating houses, and there's technology that is again 75 to 80%, uses. So we've got this huge reduction in energy demand. But we've at the same time got this global uptake of solar, which means that we have a lot of power being dumped often during the day, and that's where I see a huge opportunity to store some of that.
Sure. And
utilize some of that to grow food where we live, which is what this building is all about.
Yep.
So, it's a dream that I've had for a long time, but I now actually see it as a reality that we can actually have our houses lit so that not only is the light optimal for plants and plants grow so well, but it's actually great for us as well.
Yep.
Do you want to explain how that technology has come about? Because you've just finished some testing. Is it in Queensland University?
That's the EcoScience, which is a different product to the one that we used here. But look, just explain it, I guess. If we start with, humans and plants evolved under the same light source, the sun. So whatever we are, in terms of our cell makeup, that's what we respond to the best. The minute we start trying to light ourselves or plants artificially, we drift away from that perfect light source.
Yep.
In terms of the spectrums that we can create with artificial light. And once science discovered what plants really like, there's particular colours and spectrums that they really like and they respond well to, and they grow well. It's just I guess an issue that the minute you provide that light into an environment for humans, we don't like it.
Yeah.
We like the other elements that they don't like. So unless we're going to produce another sun, we've got to come up with a way to please both of us if we're going to share that light source.
Yep.
And that's what the new Sunlike chips are all about. So when I say chips, I mean LEDs. And there's a bunch of companies around the world that are working on and producing LED chips to effectively mimic the sun. And,
which is incredible.
it's not an easy thing to do, and there's so many different, let's call it attributes and light quality metrics that go into the light that we get from the sun. So it's a really, really high target, but the ones that we've used here are certainly the best that is available currently.
Yep.
But there's more to come. There's effectively, if you call the sun the 100 mark, I think we're at 97.7 at the moment in terms of getting close.
Just what was it 10 years ago? Because
it just wasn't possible.
Yeah, so it shows you how quickly innovation and if enough people are demanding it and asking for it, and so it shows the potential of our cities and our urban landscapes to become huge food bowls, and that we end up possibly having a jungle in our house and a food bowl in our bedroom, and our bathrooms can grow food, and but we can't do any of that without having this lighting, and that's where technology and this idea
well, look, I agree, but it's only when we want to share it. If we don't want to share it with the plants, which commercial farming, for example,
they don't care.
They can have those ugly lights and factories full of them and achieve what they need to achieve. We're not affected by it. But when we want to share the space, that's when you've got to go to this next level.
And one of the things that I'm really interested in as well is the long life. So you used to change a light globe. I mean, I know that there's a fire station in Detroit? I think that's got a light globe that's been
Edison in there.
100 years old or something like that. And there's actually a great film. I think it's called Obsolescence or Design Obsolescence. It's all about light globes and how in the 1930s all the companies got together and decided light globes are lasting too long. Let's all agree to make them last so long, and but it's really interesting how with LEDs they last so much longer. So not only traffic lights. The transition in Australia from conventional lights to LED traffic lights, the energy, I remember somebody telling me the energy saving, and then of course the fact that I didn't need to because they used to change them annually.
So are all LED lights the same, or are yours using less wattage than?
Yeah, look, there's such a, if you break down all LED light sources, let's say, whether it's, downlights or linear or however, they all come down to these tiny little chips, and there's, I don't know how many, but hundreds of manufacturers of that little element, and each one of those produces hundreds of different varieties. So there's thousands and thousands of these little things out there that are all completely different. You've got to select the one you want for the application that you've got. You've got to know how to run it. Like you say, you talk about these long lifetimes, but choose the wrong one and don't treat it right. It's dead in weeks.
Yeah, right.
It's choose the right one and don't treat it right. It's dead in weeks. It's all about how you manage the LED itself.
Would that be like turning your lights on and off, on and off?
Well, it's not really something the user can do. It's the manufacturer. Like once take us for example. We buy them on reels by the thousands on a reel, and it's what we have to treat them very carefully and place them into an environment where they're not going to overheat. They get the right power, and when you're doing that over thousands and thousands of times, machinery is the best way to do that. But once again, machinery can go off track or whatever. So it's Comes down to design mostly.
So your
You've got to
factory
decide
in
what-
Brisbane does mostly hand building, yeah?
When it comes to the electronics, and certainly when it comes to LEDs, we've automated quite a fair bit of it because it's such a big part of what we do. So the driver technology and the LED technology. If we used to have people just sitting there putting LEDs on boards and soldering them in place, but you can only get so many done in a day. So we've had to get a little bit of robotics to quicken that up a little bit.
Yeah.
But once it comes out of, let's call it the electronics workshop, it goes into major production. Yeah, that's all done by hand.
Yep.
Yeah. Final assembly and all those sorts of things. Yeah.
And so so we've had we were talking before, which we probably should have done here, but about the energy reduction, which is, between somewhere in the order of 70 to 80%. Do you feel that there's a lot more to go?
There is, I guess, I kind of look at it in the reverse fashion, in that how much more efficient lighting has become over that period of time. And prior to LED, like as much as we might have been working on LEDs in '97, it didn't really become something that was generally or commercially available till sort of the mid 2000s, and then 2010 onwards, it kind of became the standard. But so prior to that, if we talk, it's talking a little bit technically, but we were getting 20 or 30 lumens per watt. At the moment, our most efficient product we've got is 200 lumens per watt. So in that time, we've got 10 times the amount of light for the same amount of energy.
So that's really in 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So and obviously I was going to ask this question, but recyclability of the products. Are you doing much work in that? Like in that stuff can be pulled apart, can be recycled? Is there a lot of work?
Certainly can, yeah. And we basically invite any of our products that leave. There's quite a large component of aluminium and things like that we happily like to get back and get recycled.
Recover, yeah.
Electronics themselves, not so much,
Yep.
But certainly all of the frames and the bodies, most of it is aluminium these days. And where possible, people do send them back. Not as much as we'd like, I'd say, but we definitely do recycle those.
And is that like an ambition going forward that you want to try? That because I know that companies like Miele are looking at actually taking products back eventually, so that you end up just it's almost like hiring, or you're just using the product for a look. So there's a lot of thought going into the afterlife because they know they'll get it back. What
we'd probably like to do, and we've discussed, is that those elements that could come back and become recycled are the elements that they kind of have no fail point. They're as good in 30 years as they are today.
Yep.
They act as a frame or a heatsink. It's the active component being the LED or the electronics that might, in 10, 15 years we'd prefer that the whole thing comes back and that comes out and something else goes in and everything goes back into the field.
Yep.
So you could keep using that device over and over again with a very, very small upgrade. An inexpensive and easy upgrade.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be the goal.
And do you see like a house in 2030, 2040 that you wake up, lights are on, it's that light, that morning light, and then as the day, you think that will all be automated ultimately? It's possible already. Yeah.
Sure.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you could just completely automate that. So
Yeah,
if you're doing an office space or something like that, because I mean I know it's something that a lot of companies are worried about, that their staff,
Yeah.
So you're already working on that.
Oh, we're doing it. The system's going in all the time. So that's from the lighting aspect and the control aspect.
That's awesome.
Everyone loves that.
Yeah. It's
Mimicking nature.
And I'll be honest, we're such technical people that as that movement was moving forward, we were like, sure, anytime you want, but not really caught up in it,
Yeah.
And then once we started, doing more of it, and I guess showing how easy it is to do that from a technical standpoint. There's plenty of those systems.
Because you're such a small, agile business, you can actually, whereas someone like Philips might,
Yeah, I guess it's a bigger beast to manoeuvre.
Yeah.
But it was just, sure we can do it now. That's that aspect of lighting, and certainly circadian rhythms and things like that. Well, we could do that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And beyond that, the first time I dealt with that kind of technology was with this company, which was 2001.
Yeah, wow.
But we didn't realise how important that was going to be to
In the
lighting
future.
systems in the future.
Yeah.
We were kind of doing it for fun. Now it's something that projects really need. Yeah.
And so there's huge interest currently in vitamin D and all that kind of stuff, and people sitting outside getting their vitamin D. I mean, we pick mushrooms and then we put them outside. If we've got too many mushrooms, we put them outside, gills up, so that they absorb vitamin D.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
do you think that that's something that you're going to explore as well?
I'm sure of it. I know you and I have discussed it in the past, and it has come up from a couple of other angles also. And essentially, it's about producing the particular UV spectrum that makes humans generate vitamin D. It's actually we generate our own.
We just need
Based
the
on
right.
sunlight, we need the right spectrum. And our guys, the engineers have had a look and said, well, those LEDs exist, so
Wow.
we can do that tomorrow if we want to. Our position on it is, all right, the technology's there, we understand what you want. We, as a technical company, not a medical company, we don't know how much is enough or too much.
Yeah.
And the last thing we want to do is pump people full of a
Yeah.
particular UV for the wrong kind of side effects. So we need to partner with somebody who knows how much is enough. And
There you go, CSIRO. Here you go. For anyone interested in this, there's a crazy mad doctor called Dr. Holic. He's got some videos on Instagram and YouTube that has for 40 years been working in the vitamin D space and been saying that we need more vitamin D. And he was definitely a big inspiration for us here. And it's one of the reasons why this place is designed the way that it is. So you naturally get morning sun. You can pretty much access sun here all day long, the way that it's designed. So you've got the morning sun, which a lot of people say is not that important, but it's actually really good to get morning sun. And then you've got, in winter, lots of northerly sun, which comes all the way into the back of the space. And then in summer, you can actually block it out completely. So when you don't want that really hot sun. But vitamin D is a big part of the design of this space. And we actually talked about installing it at the Lexus Pavilion 4 or 5 years ago, having these lights made in Brisbane that, but were like a big tanning salon.
I think what we discussed was the perfect medical light, which it's had observed circadian rhythms, cyanosis index, vitamin D, and it was like put one in every hospital and solve a lot of problems in this world. But,
Yeah.
It's only just that vitamin D thing, like I said, too much or too little, who knows what happens.
Well, I have been known to make that mistake a few times. I remember I got a bit excited about charcoal, and we made biochar out of olive pips in Bendigo, and then I took them when we had the Perth greenhouse. We were sprinkling it on our pizza, and we had like little pepper grinders, so you could put biochar on your food, on your salad. And one day we had this doctor in, and he said, just so you know, if you're on medication for whatever, this stuff will completely absorb it out of the bloodstream, and you could potentially end up putting someone in hospital. So we stopped using it. So that was a big lesson that we quickly changed. But so we had biochar on all our food, and that quickly stopped. But I think it's something that we need to really explore, and I've got no doubt that there's a big future for it.
It's, at some point, if we do get to partner with someone, we're going to work out what those levels are.
Yeah.
And manage those levels. That's what we do.
I'll be a guinea pig.
Yeah, sure.
What about for sterilisation? Like, can a LED light go to a spectrum where it sterilises?
Definitely, yeah. Well, there's a lot of UVC LEDs at the moment, which, from what I can tell, we're not involved in it, but has been proven to virtually neutralise any including COVID, all sorts of things. So there's quite a few systems being developed at the moment for handheld, but also larger structures where you can just roll something in, completely sterilise it, roll it back out again. So those chips exist, from people that we deal with commonly. I guess it's the kind of thing that you would specialise in. We could build one tomorrow if somebody said, I need this room to be a sterile room, we could do it. Once again, we don't know how much UVC it needs, and too much could be. I guess if you're just rolling objects in there, you have the potential to be damaging the properties of the materials, which is not as bad as pushing a human in the room and pointing UV lights at them. So it's just one of those things that you approach with caution, I guess. But that's already happening widespread. Yeah, with LED.
Well, I mean, really appreciate you coming in to Fed Square and loved working with you guys on this project. This light here is called a grow light, and we designed the housing from a tree that we actually cut this time last year, and it's called a macrocarpa. The reason why I've designed it this way is because you can hang it this way. So I love the idea that it could be hanging next to your bed or on your bed. You could turn your bed into a grow bed and grow some food. You can hang it this way. Yeah, we've got quite a few of these in and around the house. We've even got them on our yabbies, and they seem to come out, and we've got lots of plant pots and stuff, so they can hide, but they also, every now and again, I find them kind of sitting just near the light, and they seem to enjoy it. So yeah, we use them for our aquaponics system. We use them for insects, mealworms, and obviously lots and lots of different plants. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I can only imagine, like, obviously, with, you know, whether it's yabbies or whatever you've got, they're stuck indoors where they're normally outdoors.
Yep.
That would be the closest thing to the sun they've seen in some time. When it's on, that'd be almost like being in a natural environment for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like one thing that's absolutely thriving is wasabi.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And that's really interesting because wasabi, you know, the people that grow wasabi always say that it's really difficult to get the light right, but they do really well underneath a grow light like
Good to
this.
hear.
Better than outside.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, if you guys are interested in this technology, Digilin is, they've got a great Instagram page. They're Brisbane-based, local company. You can pick up the phone, speak to them, and yeah, work with them, especially if you're an architect designing an apartment building or something, you want to explore this technology, really encourage you to get in touch. And that custom build, you know, everything from Deacon Edge to, what's the concert hall that you just did a big project in Adelaide as well?
Adelaide Convention Centre, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that uses a standard product and some of that dimming technology, but a little bit of custom stuff in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if you are an architect and you're looking to work with a great Australian company, these are the guys. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, been a pleasure. Great project, well done.
We pulled it off, and now we're staying.
I do have, while we finish the live stream, I got a quick question. With the spectrum and colours, can it affect your mood? And do you know anything about that, just with the spectrum of light?
Yep.
So we had Christopher here with a red light, and he was saying that can affect your feeling of well-being and sleeping. Do you know much about that?
Certainly not an expert, and I guess you know, things like, you know, we all grew up knowing that red lights make us angry and blue lights make us calm. I don't know how much is behind that. We work more on the circadian rhythms, which is what you brought up earlier, which is more about white tones. It doesn't really touch on colour that much. I don't know how much science behind the impact that coloured light has on people, but there's enough science behind the impact that different whites and different white spectrums have on people. So yeah, I'd hate to give an answer about how effective the red or the blue light is. I'm happy that, you know, when I was a kid, I thought it made kids angry. But in the circadian rhythm stuff, it's generally about, you know, the morning whites. You know, it's meant to give you that nice calm start to the day, and it peaks towards like a cool white when you are, you know, probably the most efficient, the most effective when you've got that really, really cool white, and gives you that nice fade off in the afternoon so that you know, calm yourself all the way down till it's time to go to sleep. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Aidan. You legend. And see you next week.